Okay, so this is a seascape that I've chosen, and this is really sort of typical of Pam Carter's work. It's got all the elements of a seascape that I love. It's all about colour. It's got the lovely kind of different colours in the sky, then the really cool horizon line moving into a warm area here, and the spray from the sea, from the waves hitting the shoreline, and then the darkness from the rocks that really anchor the picture. And then the lovely area where the sea meets the shoreline and you get this lovely blending happening, and then the warmth in the sand as well. So it's really got everything, and two cheeky little seagulls as well on the rock, which is really. The thing we're going to do is we're going to sketch out map out where the colours are. So the colours that I've chosen here, I'm going to post up a little picture of the colours. I have some violet, some ultramarine, some turquoise, black, white, some sort of a pinky red, if you can get it, or a dark red would be fine. Burnt umber, some dark brown, orange and yellow. So that's loads to make all these colours. Probably too many colours to have out really, but you know, it's nice to have an array of colours to pick from. So the first thing we have to do is sketch out our drawing. So I'm just picking, you can pick any colour to do this. So I'm just picking this colour. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is sketch out our shapes. So we have the skyline there. Now that's a very square kind of print of this, but it's actually not that square. So the one I'll post up, you'll see it. The one that I post up online, you'll see a better version of it than this print off. And then we have, that's where the waves are then, and we have the rocks. And a lovely straight line underneath. Then we have more rocks coming in here. And a straight line underneath, they kind of peter out here a little bit. And we have a couple more rocks in here. And we have the big rock here with the birds on it. We'll just do two little shapes for the birds just to remind us that they're there. We don't have to worry about them yet. And then another little rock here and another little rock here. Okay, and then we have the meandering sort of water coming out the front. So I'm just going to map them out. I don't have to be too particular about the shapes at this point. So that's for the wave is. I'm just going to bring the horizon line up a little bit, then bring it straight across. Okay, so that's it sketched out now. So as always, when we're painting a landscape or a seascape, we start at the top of our painting, at the sky in this case, okay? So I'm going to mix up a little colour for the sky, a little bit of my turquoise, a little bit of my ultramarine. And maybe a little bit of white, a dab of white. A bit more of this. Okay. So I can see that's a little bit too ultramarine-y. It needs to be a little bit more of the turquoise colour. So I'm going to add some more of that to it. That's a much better colour there. And this is our first layer, so I'm concerned only with filling in and keeping the paint nicely watered down, not too thick at this point. And we're using acrylics, so we're using water to thin it down. So the next colour then I see is sort of a purpley blue. So I'm going to add a little bit of my purple to the mixture that I've made already. Another bit of purple. And I think that looks just about right. So I'm going to add this in here. What a beautiful colour that is. And I'm bringing it right down to my next line, which is my horizon line. I'm making sure I don't leave any gaps, so I'm sort of blending it up into that other blue. So that there's no bits of canvas showing through. If you don't have a canvas, you can do this on good quality paper, the best quality paper that you can find at home. But these canvas boards are actually really cheap to buy. So that's our sky. I've probably made it a little bit too strong, but that's okay. I can change it. I can make it more the right color in my next layer. So I'm just concerned about getting the layer down. So then I'm moving on to my little horizon line, the back part of the sea that you can see, and that's a really cool color. So I'm going to add a little bit of black to a little bit of my ultramarine and a little bit of the turquoise. And that's probably a little bit too dark, so I'm going to add a little bit of white to that. So I'm going to put this in. Actually, I'm going to use a smaller brush for this now, because that's a really small little area. So I'm just going to put this down, add another little bit of blue to it. I'm happy with that colour now. So I'm going to put this down here. And see, that's a lovely, sometimes you need a really kind of a cool colour to make the other colours jump out. So that's what this is here, and it's in the distance. The sea is always like this in the distance. So just pop this in. That's my cat meowing in the background. She loves when I paint. So we have that there, fill it in. There we go. I can bring it all the way across actually, and nice and straight. Now bring it down a little bit more here, a bit more of it. Down a little bit there. There we have that lovely cool colour. Now, so the next colour that we have then is this lovely warm kind of turquoise. So I want to move on to my medium-sized brush for this. Just wet it a little bit first. So I have my turquoise here, and there's white going through it, but at this point I'm just going to put in my turquoise. I'm not going to worry about the white going through it. I'm just going to fill it in. And there's kind of a greeny tone to it, so I'm going to add a tiny bit more yellow to it. It's one of those lovely sea greens. And bring it up to meet my darker colour there. Okay, so the next colour that we have then is this lovely white. So I'm going to clean my brush, but I'm not going to clean it too much because there's a little bit of the turquoise still in the white. So there's the white with a tiny bit of turquoise in it. Move down and put that on. Now the white won't make too much of an impression on your first layer, but on the second layer it will. So you have to have at least 2 layers of the white on to get your effect. And always never leave just space for your white. That's okay if you're doing a watercolour, but we're doing acrylic colours, but you sort of deal with it a little bit like you deal with an oil painting. You put down your whites, you know. So now we're down as far as our rocks. So we have almost half the painting filled in already. It's great going. So now we're going to move it down to our rocks, and they're really, really dark. Now there are highlights of sort of a lavender colour and also of a kind of a pinky, reddy brown as well. But at this point, we don't really need to put those colours on, so I'm just going to make them dark. So now we're going to move on to our rocks, and they're really, really dark. So I'm going to use black, and I'm going to use a little bit of dark brown, but there's also like a hint of kind of a reddy pink in them as well. So it's a good idea if you're using a black, never use it just on its own. Always mix another dark colour that if you have a hunch that you see it in it, that means it is in it. So trust your instincts and then just put it in, you know. And a good hint to what might be in your black is the colours that are in the highlights. So there's a little bit of kind of a purpley, pinky red in those highlights. So I might even put some purple into my black as well. So when you see the highlights, that's what colour is also in the black. So that's a good kind of, I'm putting these in nice and kind of a bit heavier, because some canvases, I just find that this canvas isn't really taking the watered down paint as well as some would. No, and that actually goes all the way across. Now I've made that a bit lumpy. I'm just going to bring that out a bit. So try not to make your rocks too big, which I kind of have there. And this one, even though it's lighter, I'm still going to make it quite dark because I can put those light highlights on it later. So I'm adjusting the shape as well. I think I made it a little bit too big there, so I'm just going to adjust it to that. So that's that, and then there's a little one underneath it, which I'm going to put in here. And again, I'm moving it up a bit from there because I can see that that's a little bit too low. Okay. And then we have our big rock here at the front with seagulls sitting on it. This is a really important one. So again, I'm making it that lovely, it's kind of like a chocolatey brown black with purple kind of hints to it as well. So it's really bringing harmony. When you do a good black with your colours, it brings harmony to the other colours that you've already used. It's the kind of thing that people won't, the viewer mightn't understand why it makes so much sense, but it's because of those little tweaks, you know. That's our other rock, and then we have a tiny little rock kind of here. This is like a little gateway to the little stream that's coming in from the sea. So there are lovely rocks. Okay, so now we've kind of come down our painting a bit, but that's because we've just reused, we've seen that that colour is repeated down here, so it just makes sense to be efficient and just to use up the colour while you have it made, and so that then you can clean your brush afterwards and go on to your next colour. So the next colour is very like the sky, it's like a reflection of the sky. So I have that colour already made up. That was a little bit of turquoise and a little bit of ultramarine. So I'm going to just get some of that. And actually it's not as strong as the sky. So there's a tiny bit of white in it as well. And just bring that down. And bring it up to meet. You don't really want to blend into this rock because it'll make your other colour really muddy. But try and bring it up to meet the rock as carefully as you can, so you don't have those white bits of canvas showing, because really this is our objective here, is to cover in. This is like a really kind of complex wash, you know. Some artists would put a wash down of just one colour when they're starting off, but it just gives you more efficiency kind of. So I'm going to bring this down here. And again, sometimes you have to go over like this to bring it down. So you can kind of scratch it down into the rock here. And then, I'm going to put a bit more of that down. I'm running out of my lovely turquoise, but I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow to this and do the same, similar kind of thing. So down we go a bit here. We're getting down to our seagulls now. So we don't want to go over them. And I know I haven't done really good shapes for them, but we can worry about them in the next layer, you know. I just want to make sure I don't forget that they're there. Now I'm going to actually put out some more turquoise. Good. Okay, so I've added some more, I've put out some more of my turquoise because I do need it, it's in the painting a lot. So I'm just putting a little bit more on because I put this on very kind of sparingly there. So I'm just going to bring it down here. Hold this. It's pockety. Now, and I'm going to put some more. So I'm mixing it with a little bit of my ultramarine to make this really lovely kind of rich sea colour, you know. And put it down here as well, in between these rocks. And bring it down here. I don't want to cover my seagulls. Just be really careful. I might cover where their legs are. Now, and then here it's getting a lot kind of whiter and brighter, so it's a lot kind of paler here. A little bit of yellow, a little bit of blue, a little bit of white, and bring it into this kind of softer tone here, coming down. So this is where it's going to start meeting the shoreline now. So next we're going to do the sandy part. Well, actually, while I have that colour made up, I might put it in the front as well. So it's just the colour I've been making up for the sea, a little bit of white in it. So I'm going to bring this, and it goes through those little rocks, like that. Make it a bit turquoise here. And bring it right out at the front here again. And now I'm going to make this lovely sand colour, which is, it really brings the whole painting to life. Okay, so to make the sand colour, it's a little bit of our orange, a little bit of yellow. That's for the strong part. And then for the brighter part, bit of yellow, bit of orange, and a good dollop of white. Yeah, so there are colours. We might even add more white to that. So I'm going to do the stronger one first, which is our orange and yellow. And put this in here. And look at how that brings the whole painting alive. It's that contrast colour. It's contrasting with our blue, so it's actually the complementary colour to the blue that we've been using. And then we'll use the more pale version for it. So you don't need to use a lot of the strong colour. It's just enough to bring life to it. And then we have this. Now I've blended it a bit there by accident. So I'm going to clean my brush. It's like a bit of over blending by accident. And I'm going to add more of my fresh colour on. So I have to be kind of careful here. I have to kind of go, I don't want to over blend it. I'll just get the colour down first. And then what we can do is blend the edges up into each other. But I don't want to ruin this colour either by blending it in. It will make a mucky colour if I blend it all in together. So I'm kind of putting it down quite carefully first. Okay, so we have all our sand filled in. Now I probably need to, when I go over it next week, I'll make the sand a little bit bigger, make the sand come back here another little bit. So the only thing left is to fill in the little gaps where the seagulls are. And it's just really the same colour as the sea, just a little bit whiter. So I'm not too worried about detail at this point, just give the impression of them. And then their little legs are kind of that dark browny black. So I'm just going to make a little thing where their legs are. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed doing the seascape, the first layer of your seascape. It's a nice, easy one. It's not too hard to do, and it'll just get you into tuning into colour, you know, so that's really important when you're painting. So we'll do part 2 of this one next week, next Tuesday. So we'll see you then, and please post up if you send in your progress to me, whether it's the one from last week, the landscape, or at the start of this one. You can send them in at ainedorothy77@gmail.com, and I'll post them up on my Instagram and on my Facebook page. Okay, thanks.